That's part of what the lunatics love about this is the free-flowing nature of the conversation.
Yeah, regardless of whether the lunatics have mentioned that or not, we are just going to pretend that that's their favorite part.
Yep, it's one of my favorite comments on our new Wikipedia page.
Well, here we are. Welcome back to the Hot Lou Show.
At this point, Lou, I feel like our audience has grown loyal.
We've got a name for them. They're the lunatics.
The lunatics they're coming out of the woodwork. Not a week goes by, Lou, not a week, where you don't text me or I don't encounter some new lunatic who loves the content and is asking us just to do more and more shows. Thanks. Yeah, there they are.
As you were saying
Our
that,
first live show.
You know, the beauty of having a lunatic in writing is you can tell the difference between somebody who's a fan of the show and a crazy person. So when you were talking about running into lunatics, I wasn't entirely sure which type of lunatic you were talking about.
I suppose you could take that a couple different directions, Lou.
Yeah, it depends on what neighborhood you're in or what city you're in.
Mm-hmm.
But they're out there.
There's lunatics everywhere.
There's lunatics everywhere. So we...
Be careful out there.
And we ask you to approach any type of lunatic with caution.
Extreme caution.
Yeah.
They might drop references on you that you don't understand or that you will understand one day.
That's right.
Well,
what happened?
Yeah, here we are at the Hot Lou Show, and I am your host, Lou Abramowski, or somewhat fleetingly referred to as Hot Lou.
And I am his ever-present sidekick, Mike.
So, Mike, I wanted to talk a little bit about the birds and the bees today.
Oh, man, this is going to get heavy.
It is.
If you have children in the car, please entertain them with something else. In fact, just give them your phone. They won't hear or see anything.
In safe mode. We'll skip the birds part. How about that? And then the kids can keep listening.
Oh.
And we'll just talk about the bees.
I like bees.
Yeah.
Well, do I, though? I'm not sure I do.
Yeah. Don't you have an allergy?
No.
Just bananas.
Bees, bananas, beets, bears, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, the bees, the insect, and the letter, apparently.
Yeah, the letter B. It's pretty much any bee product is it's difficult.
So I want to talk about marketing in the digital age and something that I think a lot of people do call cross-pollination all over. I don't see it referenced very often, but I have this really interesting thing that happened on a page very early on. This was probably around 2009, and I meant to look it up before we start the show, but as we've talked about in the past, we spend roughly 2 to 3 text messages prepping for the show.
Yeah, and this one is even a little skinny by those standards, Lou.
That is true.
But that's part of what the lunatics love about this is the free-flowing nature of the conversation.
Yeah, regardless of whether the lunatics have mentioned that or not, we are just going to pretend that that's their favorite part.
Yep, it's one of my favorite comments on our new Wikipedia page.
I did speak with a lunatic recently who was under the impression we spent a lot of time preparing for the show.
Yeah, that lunatic was sorely mistaken.
Yeah.
They may have had a weird conception of reality.
That might have been the LUN lunatic. But so looking back, I've got this Facebook page called I Want to Go To There.
Mm-hmm.
And that page was inspired by me seeing some cool destinations on Reddit occasionally, and at the time being a huge fan of 30 Rock.
Yeah.
Because you might remember one of Tina Fey's catchphrases at the time was, I want to go to there.
Yes.
And as I understand it, she was inspired by her like toddler daughter who would see like a cake that she really liked and would just meant to say, I want to go there, and would say, I want to go to there.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that, curated a whole bunch of interesting destination photos and started, and really some just generally cool photos that might make a toddler say, I want to go to there. And it wasn't really...
Or a 30-something.
Or a 30-something. And I didn't really have any aspirations for that page at the time, other than, you might recall, because of my role at 8th Bridge, or Alvenda at the time,
mm-hmm.
we needed to kind of create a lot of social media marketing tactics and strategies to share with some of the retailers that we were working with. And this was just an experimental page. And one afternoon I thought, oh, this was a cool post that I had on the I Want to Go to Their page. And the photo was this person that was, or sorry, it was like a floating object. It was like a boat in the water. But the water was so clear that in the photo, it just looked like a floating boat.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, any way you look at it, Lou, it was a floating boat.
right. It doesn't matter the substance that it was floating in.
You meant to say in the air.
Right.
Right.
It appeared to be floating in the air.
Yeah, there you
not
go.
in the water. Thank you. And I thought that's a really interesting thing because I've got this other Facebook page called Not Photoshopped, where we were just sharing and curating some photos. I was actually adminning that with a friend at the time, and we were sharing these photos that kind of looked like they might have been photoshopped, but weren't. They were just interesting situations. So what I did is I ended up sharing the photo from the I Want to Go to Their page onto the Not Photoshopped page. And at the time, the Not Photoshopped page was a little bit larger than the I Want to Go to Their page. And something happened, and I don't even know what. And still to this day, I don't think there's any way to really track this. But 2 or 3 days later, I looked back at the post, and it had like 50,000 views on this page that had like a few 100,000 followers. And I'm trying to figure out like what happened there. And I just noticed that the post had like hundreds and hundreds of shares.
Sure.
And I thought to myself, well, this is a really interesting potential tactic that if you've got multiple Facebook pages and you've got content that's relevant to both audiences, to be able to cross-pollinate and cross-share them, you can introduce one post to a new audience that might attract a new audience to the original page.
So to use it, you mentioned in our 2 texts worth of show prep that I'm sort of doing this now with the Dad Jokes Daily.
Right.
And I'm sharing that on my personal page.
Right.
Not personal page, my
Personal
personal
profile.
timeline, personal profile.
Yeah.
And I've noticed sort of both my personal profile and the Dad Jokes Daily page seems to be benefiting from this.
Right.
Because of course I can't think spatially with respect to social media. How did the I Want to Go to Their audience know that it had been? Were they introduced then to not photoshopped by virtue, or was it only the one directional? Okay, so only the not photoshopped
Right.
crowd was then introduced to I Want to Go to There.
Right. But then what I started doing, because the interesting thing that happened is the I Want to Go to Their page started growing super rapidly. So when it was all said and done, as we are wont to do on this show, I didn't look up the actual post right before we started recording, but we'll throw that in the show notes along with some data. But I think the last time I looked, the post had millions and millions on the reach side, and I remember only days or weeks after it originally got shared, I think that post had 100,000 plus likes. That individual post on a page that only had like a few hundred followers at the time. So the fascinating thing, of course, is that page started to grow super, super rapidly, and now today has I think around 65,000 or 70,000 followers and runs purely 100% on Evergreen. And that page now, it allows me to, as I create other pages that might also share interesting destinations or cool other like not photoshopped stories that
The crack research team has uncovered the post.
Right. So now that I've got one large page, it's a really good way for me to seed the growth on smaller pages.
Sure.
And as a rising tide lifts all boats, as they say, or floats all boats, maybe.
That post will really float your boat, is
It
what
will.
you're getting at.
That's what I'm getting at. And it could potentially float your growth in both of the follower numbers on both of the pages, because you can cross-pollinate in both directions.
So let's give some real practical advice. You've got a business, but you're a startup. You're brand new. I mean, Can you do this? I mean, I think I know the answer based on my earlier acknowledgement, but can you do this with your personal profile page, or is that a good idea to do with your personal profile page, or are there other tips you can give? You stumbled across this after you'd already had tens of thousands of followers on these pages.
So there's a couple ways that I recommend businesses apply this. One of them is what you just talked about. So,
personal page.
Personal, everybody that's on Facebook has a little bit of an audience, meaning mostly their friends and potentially colleagues or family members or whatever, where you can reshare that stuff. And that's a really good way to start. And if you're comfortable talking, about your organization or your business, or, if you feel comfortable, that's a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I tell a lot of organizations is that, sometimes it can be very difficult to get people to follow your business page on Facebook because they're just used to not really expressing interest in following or liking a business.
Sure.
Especially if it's B2B, right? If you have a business to business type of product, those pages don't do very well on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, a little bit of a challenge. And what I recommend is sometimes you want to create an unbranded page that might be tangentially related to your company. So as an example, and this isn't a B2B one, but a customer of Evergreen's has a Halloween costumes website. And their Halloween costumes site is just purely sells Halloween costumes. But they really, really struggled with getting people to follow their primary Facebook page. So what we did was we created purely just a Halloween costumes interesting Facebook page and just started publishing these Halloween costumes. And then as that audience builds, which you can do much easier, so, they're not liking a company or a brand necessarily, everybody that's following. They're just following because they like interesting Halloween costumes.
Sure.
And occasionally on their primary business page, they'll share like a cool Halloween costume on that page and then reshare it on the Halloween costumes like fun community page, which is much larger and growing much faster, but it's going to expose it to a much larger audience. And then that's a way to get free additional exposure to a larger and potentially more captivated and engaged audience.
Fascinating.
It's hard to apply that, right?
I was just thinking about that in terms of my business, because just like you said, I mean, our Facebook page at my company is pretty middling as far as that goes. We don't have a lot of followers. But we're B2B. We don't have a product for public consumption in any way, shape, or form. But there's a few different ideas I could think about. Either we work around politics, not sort of in politics, but around politics. We could do a sort of Minnesota political humor page, or something like that, and just open it up. And with my service and product, you have to be careful. You'd have to moderate it to make it not off-putting, and nonpartisan.
It's hard to do humor.
It's hard to do humor, but or just a Minnesota political page or something like that, and then occasionally seed it with Weber Johnson's latest advertisement or something like that, or one of the things that, and we've actually sort of tried to do this before. We travel constantly. We're always on the road, or particularly around Minnesota, but really all around the upper Midwest. I wanted to, and I will eventually get to a point where we can do this, is collect pictures of, the signs when you're entering a town.
Yeah.
Welcome to Red Wing. Welcome to War Road. Welcome to, whatever. And just have those pictures, put them on Evergreen, and just over and over again, those pictures will come up sort of representing what we do. We're in your community.
Yeah. So as I was thinking of like how it might apply to your business, it was kind of along those lines. So, humor is a little bit more of a challenge when you've got a serious topic like politics or whatever, but you might be able to, like you said, start collecting all of these interesting travel photos, and you might even be able to blend it with, some sort of politically, I want to say charged, but like a politically themed area of the town that you're visiting.
Sure.
And
city halls.
Yeah, the city
Something
halls.
like that.
And then you could just have a city halls page.
Yep.
We're both from Cloquet.
Yep.
And for those not familiar in the listening audience, where Cloquet is, it's a smaller town in northern Minnesota, the home of the Lumberjacks. And there's an interesting Facebook page that we'll include in the show notes that is like Cloquet, Minnesota, like 1898 to present.
Yeah.
And you follow it, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can get lost in it too.
You can. And the guy is just sharing historical photos from Cloquet and neighboring areas, and occasionally just interesting stories that are happening right now. And that little theme there, you might be able to analogously apply that to city halls and maybe tell some stories around the politics that are happening at that city hall, whether it's formally or historically or even in the present day.
Right.
And just have a page dedicated to that, where it might be City Halls of Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, we're marketing my business on this show.
Yeah.
Wow. And if my business can benefit from this, that means yours can too.
Absolutely.
Or your product, or your nonprofit, or whatever you happen to be involved with.
Or a sponsor of this show.
Yeah.
Because we have a new commercial.
We do.
We do. We're going to roll the commercial right now. Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
What day is it?
It's Lou's Day.
It's Lou's Day. It's my favorite day.
Second only to
Hump Day.
Lou's Day is now known as Hump Day Eve.
There's a lot of lunatics out there who are also in love with Hump Day.
Yep.
So what did I do?
A social experiment, Lou?
I created a Facebook page for all of those lunatics who are also Hump Day enthusiasts.
Oh, this is going to be great. If you're a fan of dromedary, Bactrian, or the offensive hybrid camel, there's really no better Facebook page for you than Every Day is Hump Day.
Particularly if you're just so tired of Thursday and Friday and just the long wait every week.
It's the worst. It's the worst thing about Thursday is knowing that I have 7 more days to get back to Hump Day, or 6 to Hump Day Eve.
If you have spent your entire life wasting away those 6 miserable days that aren't Hump Day and you need it improved, we have the answer for you.
Yeah, every day can be Hump Day now.
Check out the Facebook page by searching Every Day is Hump Day on Facebook and like your newest favorite page on Facebook.
These camels are delightful for all members of the family. They're biologically accurate, and one of them appears to be mid-spit.
If you're having difficulty out there identifying which camels are Bactrian and dromedary, nearly every one of the posts is giving you an opportunity to identify it and comment on which camel it is.
Yep. This is not just about entertainment. It's about inspiration and learning.
So there you go. Improve your life by following Every Day is Hump Day.
Please search that in Facebook, not on Google. What'd you think of the commercial, Lou?
Well, you know what? I'm now following probably the most interesting series of camel photos on Facebook, because it's Hump Day every day.
I love it.
Oh gosh, I'm so grateful to our sponsors. I don't know that we would have made it this far in this podcast.
However
without
far we are.
Our generous sponsors.
Yes.
Between Dad Joke Daily and now Hump Day Every Day.
Yep.
Thank you so much for making the hotlou show possible.
I identify as a Bactrian, but that doesn't mean that your dromedaries don't have something that we can all share together and talk about.
Yeah. And, I'm really hoping that eventually this podcast gets big enough that we can see the intersection between Bactrian camel enthusiasts and Lord of the Ring fans.
Oh, man. I actually think that would only be a couple of rings of Kevin Bacon. I can get there pretty quick.
Kevin Bacon could be in that list.
Yeah. On the remake. They're doing a remake, of course, or not a remake, rather, but a prequel to Lord of the Rings. It's going to be on, I forget which, HBO, I think, actually.
Well, I hope Kevin Bacon's in it.
Yeah, well, at this point, I've put it into the universe, so I feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah, if he's not in it, he's only 1 or 2 degrees away.
I'm not watching that crap.
Yeah, I'm not watching it if Kevin Bacon's not in it.
And if there's not a variety of camels in it, I'm out.
Well, maybe Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford will be in it as well.
I'd like to see them on screen together for the first time.
Yeah, Have you not seen this movie called Star Wars?
I don't know, those people, they're too much.
Yeah, their fans really turn you off to that show.
Totally.
Well, in any case, this tactic that I wanted to share with everybody is one that I think everybody can use, whatever your organization is, to think about trying to build an audience around maybe a tangential and related topic, and build an audience around that and a list of followers that you can then market your company to, softly or, directly, whatever it becomes. So, really take that into consideration as you're marketing your nonprofit, your organization, your for business company, or your camel enthusiasts Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So
one hump or two.
Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed that tactic. And if you're using it right now, throw a comment in the show notes or edit our Wikipedia page.
Mm-hmm. The more B references, the better for this show.
I am your host, Hot Lou.
I am Sidekick Mike.
And we'll talk to you next Lou's Day.
I want to go to there.